In this video, we will be looking at the four factors of production and their remunerations. But first, what are the factors of production? Factors of production are all the things that are necessary for the production of goods and services. Without these factors, the production of goods and services cannot take place. For this reason, the factors of production are important since they directly influence the production of goods and services. There are four factors of production, which are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Before getting into these factors of production, it is important to know who owns these factors of production. Households are the owners of the factors of production. Land as a factor of production refers to all the gifts of nature that are below and above the ground. Instead of saying land, one may also refer to these gifts of nature as natural resources. These resources are natural in the sense that they are not man-made. Examples of natural resources include water, fish, gold, and oil. One of the characteristics of natural resources is that they are unevenly distributed across the world. While countries such as Venezuela and Saudi Arabia are rich in oil, other countries such as Russia and Botswana are rich in diamonds. The remuneration, that is to say, payment or reward for natural resources, is rent. In everyday language, rent refers to the amount of money that is paid to use someone's property or equipment for a given period of time. In our case, households or families who live in the same geographical area own anything that is above or below the ground of that region as a community. Before any company can dig minerals, it must ask the community of that region for permission. The community will then ask how will the project benefit them. In most cases, communities allow companies to carry out these projects on the condition that the locals get employed in those companies. Speaking of companies employing people, this brings us to the second factor of production, labor. Labor refers to any human effort that is directed into the production of goods and services. Such efforts can be physical or mental, since some jobs require more physical strength while others need more knowledge. Among households as the owners of the factors of production, companies and businesses look for individuals who have the skills and knowledge that can be used in the production of goods and services. The identified individuals are then employed and paid in wages and salaries for their contributions. So the remuneration for labor is wages and salaries. From here, labor can be divided into two, although it is usually divided into three. There are unskilled workers and skilled workers. Unskilled workers are often paid in wages, which means they earn depending on the hours they have worked. For example, James works for 5 hours and he is paid $10 per hour. This will mean that every day James earns $50. If James one day works for 3 hours, for that day he will make only $30. His opportunity cost is $20. This is the money that he could have made if he worked 5 hours as usual. Skilled workers, on the other hand, are usually paid in salaries and earn more than unskilled workers. Take Susan for instance. Susan is a qualified doctor who earns $30,000 per month. Regardless of how many hours she worked, at the end of the month she will still be paid 30,000 US dollars. But labor is not alone in the production of goods and services. Another input involved in the production of goods and services is capital. Capital refers to all the goods that are used to produce other goods and services. This include machines, vehicles, equipment, and buildings. One of the things that these goods have in common is that they last longer than any other input. For example, production will still take place in the same old building that was built more than 15 years ago. Also, most capital goods are less mobile compared to labor. While a company is confident that it will use the same building and equipment it owns for the next 15 years, at any moment, one of its workers may resign. Another advantage of using machines is that they are more efficient than an average worker. What can take an average worker an hour to produce usually takes a machine about half an hour. These are all the good reasons machines are replacing humans in the workplace. That sounded a little bit insensitive. Let me rephrase it. These are all the reasons firms usually prefer employing capital to labor. That's much better. However, capital goods can still be used together with labor in producing goods and services as complements. At least machines of today still require humans to operate. The remuneration for capital is interest. Interest is usually defined as the amount of money paid by the borrower to borrow something from the owner. Firms in their first years in business borrow things such as vehicles and equipment from other firms and individuals who own these goods. This is because capital goods tend to be expensive, especially big equipment and machines. For firms who own these goods, these are assets that they can sell or rent out to make money. This money is then called interest. But something is missing here. Who came up with all this? The last and probably the most important factor is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the process of identifying an opportunity and turning an idea into a successful business. The person who does all this is called an entrepreneur. This person is responsible for coming up with an idea of what can be produced and what resources will be needed to produce it. An entrepreneur identifies all the other factors of production and combines them to produce goods and services. Take Sam for instance. While we were complaining about the rain, Sam thought of producing something that people can wear when it is raining and get to their place of work or anywhere. A raincoat. After years of research, he finally combined all the resources needed to produce that product. He used his garage as his factory and hired 10 people. Not all of us are like Sam. While Sam had the courage to take a risk and start something, some of us we prefer playing it safe. So there is a shortage of entrepreneurial skills. Among us, only a few people are willing to take such a risk. But as they say, high risk, high rewards. Entrepreneurs are rewarded with profits. This is the remaining amount of money that a firm gets to keep after paying for all of its expenses. These expenses include paying rent for using a piece of land, interest for the borrowed capital, and wages and salaries for people it has hired. This is the reason entrepreneurship is so important. Without entrepreneurship, people who own other factors of production cannot be identified and compensated for the other three factors of production they own. It all starts with an idea. Let's take a quick walk into the workplace. All the four factors of production are used in the production of goods and services, from an idea to start a business or a company to employing people and machines. Workplaces that have more people employed than machines are often referred to as labor intensive. On the other hand, workplaces that have more machines deployed than people are considered to be capital intensive. As technology is advancing, workplaces of the future are expected to be even more capital intensive, having one or two people monitoring the machines to do the job. What is the future for labor as a factor of production? Why are there few people in the workplaces today? Perhaps it is because everyone is working from home and not stuck in the office for 9 hours. I thought we all hated the office. One thing you might have noticed is that I did not mention money. This is because money is not used directly in the production process. Instead, money is merely used to buy materials and pay rent and workers. Nonetheless, without money, the production of goods and services will still take place. Therefore, money is not a factor of production. Thank you for watching this video up until the end of it. Until next time, and there will be next time, if you can just press the button.